long short of it is, to go into the graphic details, my arsehole is much tighter than it should be.
What, like you were born like that?
Sorry?
I'm so glad I've started recording already, because that there is the opening comment of the show. Cue the title music.
It's alive! Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
Right, welcome to Empire of Geek. And on the show this week, slowly lowering himself down onto a chair, it's Raul, who, if you didn't realise from the pre-show comment, has badly injured his ring piece this week. And is in an immense amount of pain as he slowly lowers himself down. Tell us about your ass grapes, Rob. What's happened?
Well, they're not grapes.
You've got a sizable cut in your chutney shoes.
Yeah, an anal fissure.
Yes.
And I was hoping that we wouldn't, bring this up on the podcast, but as you were surreptitiously recording me, and I have to justify that bit you're going to stick on the front about my tight arsehole. Now, I was at the gym squatting. It wasn't.
This is all caused by a history of anal accidents.
Well, not accidents. Just
you've tripped and fallen on objects a lot in your life.
When did that happen?
That's what you said in casual
time. I fell on a staple gun.
And they shot you up the arse.
Well, I
You shot yourself up the bum?
not at the bum. I was 11 years old at the time.
Experimenting.
And I was in my uncle's woodshed.
Oh my word! I'm going to have to bleep this. You're in his woodshed, and how did you manage to fall? Did it shoot you up the arse?
Well, I slipped and I sat on it.
This sounds like the worst type of pervert story ever. You sat on it and then it fired.
Well, it didn't fire like a full plank, but a full pelt. It was just the staple was sticking out at the end.
Where did it stuck into?
My backside, my cheek.
Oh, your cheek.
My cheek.
Well, that's not going to damage, the actual, Hershey Highway, though, is it?
No.
You were doing a particular exercise.
I was
this week, weren't
squatting. It wasn't like particularly heavy weight. It was only 125 kilos, and
there was a loud snapping
It's not a
sound.
hospital story, is it? I tell you what, my cousin, my cousins, my cousin Jason had an air pistol, and he got into a whole world of trouble. He shot. He put a paper pellet in. He rolled with a paper up and put it in his air pistol. And shot it up his brother's bum. He ended up in A&E with it, yeah.
Hang on. Hang on.
That's called bookweeding.
You did go to the public school. Did they go to the public school as well?
I never knew they popped cats in asses in public school.
They
pop a cat in your arse.
Yeah, it was just outside of Norwich, yeah.
So it wasn't like Eton like you. It was a.
No, it was a lass's school. Rowell, not Eton.
What an unfortunate accident.
It was the same one that Stephen Fry went to, I think.
Look how he turned out.
I know he's a guy.
All right.
A guy. On his third autobiography now. Which I actually say, I've got to say, I'm reading it. It's not as good as Moebius and Washpot.
Did he write it then?
Well, I was going to say a rude word then. It's a bloody autobiography, isn't it?
Anyway.
Or is that the joke?
So,
that was the joke, yeah.
So you were squatting and you managed, because of a massive build-up of scar tissue, as you
Well, the problem I've got is, because it's happened a few times, and it's like healed and contracted and what have you, difficulty now is I've got such a build-up of scar tissue down there that, as a result, there isn't much flexibility in it.
Do you say expanded and contracted?
Well, it pretty much opens up. You put too much pressure on it, and it just tears. So I've got to basically go to ground them again and see our mutual friendly Indian doctor, who will most likely, because he warned me the next time it happens, they might, basically told me to be careful. So the next time it happens, you'll probably have too much scar tissue down there, so I'll have to cut it out. So,
well, they use that like a warm butter knife or something.
What will they do? To skin graft you or something?
Well, no. It's done under like a local anaesthetic. They just get in there. They just cut the
team, a crack team,
cut the scar tissue out and stitch it back up, and you're away. And you've got a bit of slack then, because at the moment it's like way too
slack
tight.
arse.
At the moment, it's just far too tight.
You know, this conversation is reminding me of the opening sequence of the League of Gentlemen where they catch that cab, and the guy that's in the cab is a transvestite cabbie, and he's going to have an operation, and goes into some detail.
Oh man, honestly,
yeah, it's kind of reminding me of that.
When I was a kid, I worked in this petrol station.
Babs cabs.
Yeah,
and there was this pre-op transsexual lorry driver who would come in and he would tell me.
Is this where your anal injury that dates back to?
No, but this dude would come in but he would
Did he fill you up?
No, he filled his lorry up.
So
so he'd come in.
I'm having a problem with my pumps.
But this was the thing. He'd come in and he was like, "Hey Rob," because he'd do like this fake kind of woman voice. "Hey Rob, I can't wait to have my bollocks off next week." And then he'd go into graphic detail about how he was going to have like it all chopped off and stuff. And I didn't really want to know because I was only 16 at the time, and it was just a little bit too much information. He was a nice enough bloke, but you know, I didn't want to know about his Todger being ripped from him.
Oh yeah. How old were you?
How do I know?
How old were you when it happened?
I was about when I had my Todger ripped from him.
No.
It's still here.
He's still got one, and it's a beauty.
When I was like, born with two.
No, I was 16. That's when I worked at the.
You're born with two. Everyone's born with two balls.
Oh, balls. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he's only packing one spud, but it's a mighty. It's like a cantaloupe.
You'll have to listen to last
It's famous.
week's podcast.
Listen, like I explained about.
Shit me, my body parts get plastered all over this podcast.
It's only because you choose the title.
But thing is, it was a bit hard. It was a bit difficult for me to kind of hide the fact that I was walking like someone with a shape, shank of glass up his arse.
I say nobody wants to put anything in the public arena unless they want it to be known about. That's what I say. You want everybody to know about this situation.
I think you're quite proud.
You do. I think you're probably looking at some sort of, any advertising is good advertising.
It's so hard I tore my arse open. There's a kind of Jim Legend.
Who you are, real man.
I'm not expecting you to, sort of push your company alongside this conversation.
Nobody knows my real name on this podcast deliberately because I have to protect the company. I've got shareholders to answer to.
Yes, they do, Rob.
They're not going to withdraw their funds.
You just said my name.
Let's all pause to give it extra effect.
That's all right, you can cut it out. We can cut it out.
I'm not. I'm tired of having to edit this.
Well, honestly,
Rob's got shareholders
I can't have my name.
who are very sort of touchy about people's arseholes.
I'm being serious. I can't have my name on this.
How can anyone invest in someone if they aren't sure that their bunty hole's not up to the business?
If you haven't got arsehole integrity, how have you got?
You've got to beat that out.
What have you got?
I've got client-facing integrity. That's what I say.
You've got to beat that out. Seriously.
We got a question actually.
Make a note. Make a note of the time, so you know.
I know what time it is.
Okay.
I do actually listen back to these shows, unfortunately. So anyway,
I said that knowing it could be deleted anyway, Rob.
Yeah, it might well be physically, technically possible to delete it. Whether it does get deleted.
that is true.
Steve will look after your integrity.
Anyway,
Both your name and other parts.
Anyway, I'd like to get on with the show now. The whole plan is, this is different from other weeks in that I'm going to separate the show into two different shows. There'll be, film and TV will be done as a group, and then comic book and convention news will all be done separately and put up later in the week. Just so we can keep the shows down, because I think last week's show was about 1 hour, 20 minutes. I think they need to be around about the 30 to 40 minute mark. So we're going to leave out some of the stuff for another show. So it'll just be film and television today. And so moving into that, I want to do it was new last week, the new feature which we started called Mailbag. We've got another message come in this week, and yet again it features you, Raoul.
Are you making this up?
This is true. This is another message that's come in.
From
said,
Craig?
No, this is not from Craig this time. This is from a different listener.
Who?
This is Chris, his name is.
Anyone we know?
No. And what he says is, how come on the show, whenever Rob remembers something, it's completely different to everyone else? Why is that? That was his question.
Because my memory is more accurate.
Bullshit.
Fictional.
Fictional,
No,
yes.
because you lot will gang up on me and make shit up.
No, we don't. We tell exactly how it is.
No, you make some... Who is this Chris? Where's he from?
I don't know.
What are you going to do?
I will track him down.
No, I mean, I'm quite intrigued to know that we've got a listener.
We do. Well, I tweeted you earlier and said that the rough idea of how many we're getting.
But like a listener we don't know.
Well, we don't know. I don't know that many people anyway to listen to it. So.
How many listeners do we actually have?
I'm not going to discuss it on air, but we're doing quite well. We're increasing our listener amount till we get to the Bung Hole episode and we lose everyone. Well, let's get on with the actual show. So we're starting with film news, and the first story is it's been the big story this week, and it's to do with Spider-Man. Sony have agreed to do a deal with Marvel to allow to allow Marvel to use Spider-Man in the expanded Marvel Cinematic Universe. Big news, isn't it, Raoul? Without seeing any of the facts, I fecking told you when we pre-recorded this before. So.
Well, we only have to re-record it because you cocked up the phone recording.
No, there's not enough memory on it. That's why.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Like I said before, I'm slightly sceptical as to how it will work, but yeah, I'll look forward to seeing it. The thing is, if it's got Marvel behind it, it should turn out all right.
Yeah, everything they've done so far has been good. Ant-Man's not out yet, which is going to ruin everything. But in my opinion, it might be good. I hope it's good. But yeah, everything they've touched has turned to gold, hasn't it, so far?
And Sony's last Spider-Man films, in my opinion, I mean, you all might disagree with me, but in my opinion, were a bit naff. The Andrew Garfield ones, yeah. I thought they didn't really, like you were saying earlier, they promised so much from their trailers,
yes,
but didn't actually deliver.
Yes, that is very true. They promised that there's going to be loads of villains in it, which was a warning sign to anyone who'd seen Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one, because they'd had the Sandman, the Green Goblin and Venom in that, and there was too many villains for the film. Yes. And they had crappy emo Spider-Man. So there was a real worry with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that it will be so filled with villains that it would be another Spider-Man 3, but in fact the film we got was essentially the love story between Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, which was good.
You see, I always thought he should have ended up with Gwen. I always thought Gwen was way, nicer than Mary Jane.
Are you basing this on Mary Jane from the previous 3 films?
Well, just like in general, I always thought, even from the comics, I always thought Gwen was just a little bit.
I don't know. Mary Jane's pretty cool in the comic books. Obviously, she's been featured in loads of them, but one of the key things that I did speak about was the fact that I didn't know why Sony had done the deal with Marvel, and because they were planning, Sony were, to build an extended Spider-Man universe, which would have had the Sinister Six film and stuff like that. But when you look at the figures, what we found is that the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, when it came out, brought in around about 403 million. Every Spider-Man film since then, running on to the latest ones, has made less money. In fact, the recent Amazing Spider-Man 2 only brought in 202 million, which, if you add inflation in, means it's only brought in about a third of the original Tobey Maguire film.
I think for that amount of money, it would have barely just covered its costs. I
think it did well, but it's diminishing returns each time they do it.
Yeah.
And I think they realised that the only thing that Spider-Man had going for it is that marketing-wise, the toys and the tie-in, the merchandise is where they make it.
Because every kid wants to be Spider-Man.
Yes. And it's, as far as merchandise goes, I am pretty sure in saying this, and I'm sure someone will write in and comment if I'm getting it wrong, rather than just writing in and criticising you.
A third listener, that's not criticising me.
So. I'm pretty sure that Spider-Man is Marvel's most kind of bankable as far as marketing and tie-in stuff goes hero. So, although Marvel have been dicks recently with Fox and people like that who own stuff like the X-Men and Fantastic Four, Marvel have kind of stopped doing stuff for the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. In fact, they pulled the Fantastic Four comic book, not wanting to give the other company any extra advertising in the lead up to their new film coming out.
Why have they done that then? What's the possible reason behind that?
Because they're not happy. They want the films to bomb, because then there's the chance that Marvel can get back the movie character rights. Because they recently got Daredevil back.
Is that an actual fact?
Oh no, it's true. Why they don't want to support?
Well, of course.
Fox,
logically, but I'm just being mindful that we don't want to get sued by Marvel's legal team because they're pretty.
Bring it on. What are we saying that I believe that they're doing it, and I'm not the only person who believes that. They are. It's a fact. They've stopped doing the Fantastic Four comic book. and the Fantastic Four, and the film, the film made by another company is coming out. They don't want to support the film because if it does really bad, like Spider-Man appeared to be getting worse, then they might get the rights back.
But aren't there usually in these franchise rights? There's usually clause or contract.
You've got to make a film every few years.
You have to make a film every few years, and it has to bring in X amount of money, or they get an option to.
I don't know about the bringing money because it's famously the Fantastic Four. Do you remember the Fantastic Four film that came out?
The one 6-7 years ago, something like that, or a bit longer.
Yeah, that wasn't the original Fantastic Four film. Roger Corman made a Fantastic Four film that was never actually released. Right. They only made the film. You can get it on the internet if you look it up from torrent sites and all. If you want to go in for all that illegal downloading stuff, not that we're supporting that in any way. But you can actually get the Fantastic Four film, the original one, which they only made it to keep the rights.
Oh, I see. Just
yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so Marvel don't want to give any extra support to those films as they come out, and I suppose they're not going to think that they'll get the rights back for them, but it'd be nice if they did. They got Ghost Rider back because Ghost Rider, they made those films which were crap, and I think the company that owned it realised they couldn't do anything with it, so they just let it lapse and it goes back to Marvel.
The thing is, Ghost Rider I always thought a bit of a rubbish character anyway. Well, you have The Spirit by Will
Eisner.
Yeah, I quite like The Spirit, but Ghost Rider I thought was just a bit.
Well, The Spirit's kind of different. Obviously, it's a Will Eisner character and all that, but it's Will Eisner as well. Is the granddaddy. The Eisner Awards for comic books are named after him.
Yeah,
very good comic book. I don't think the film. I enjoyed the film, but I think the comic books were particularly good. The use of sound in it. There's use of sound bubbles and stuff like that, cracking stuff, and Will Eisner's ability to tell stories narratively is excellent. Getting hold of his books, I don't know what it's like now. It used to be a fucking nightmare. I've got one called Invisible People by Will Eisner about people living in this block of flats type thing. It's really good, but getting hold of other stuff used to be really hard because he was so popular. I imagine now the Spirit film came out, you can probably get hold of more. But anyway, let me talk a bit more before we move on to someone else that can involve Paul and Andy. Because Paul, you don't like these films because you went into a long rant.
I think it's probably best.
I don't like franchises.
Well, there is partly that, right, which is my own biggest problem that I'm going to have to deal with. I realise that, but I'm just, I like it from a distance. I like comic books. I can't watch.
When you say a distance, what kind of distance is this?
About 5,000 miles.
Yes, I like the idea of comic books.
No. It's not comic books. It's watching the same storyline over and over again with very little deviation from it. The issue that I was trying to explain, I did it very clumsily, was
this is about the Marvel films, which you've not seen any of them.
Not just. Let me get this on the record so we're clear about this. It's any type of franchise movies, period. Anything like that. Just because I like a bit of variation in my movie.
Do you not like James Bond?
Yes, and it's the same thing over and over again. Yes.
So you don't like James Bond?
I think.
Or you do like James Bond?
And
didn't you say last time you were on, you said you really enjoy the Carry On films?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, they're the exact thing that you're arguing against.
But I like those. I think they're probably like those for historic purposes. But okay, James Bond. Get back to James Bond. You asked me about James Bond, right?
Yeah.
The thing about a movie genre, I suppose, is that it needs to update itself. It's got a cycle, hasn't it, right? And it has to change in some way in order to survive, right? Well, James Bond did. He changed. And they changed actually probably when, God knows how they survived when Roger Moore was with James Bond or anybody else.
Shut the feck up. Roger Moore had the best films.
No, it became a parody.
No, Roger Moore's films are far superior to Sean Connery's.
I think he became a bit of a parody. You couldn't say Roger Moore was a serious hard man, could you?
Yes. You know what the best thing about Roger Moore was? That when you saw Roger Moore, he could go from being laughable to making jokes to a stone cold killer. There's a bit where there's a car that's been chasing him, and if the chase finishes and the car's on the edge of the cliff, Roger Moore walks over, says something, and then kicks the car over and over again until it falls off the cliff.
Yeah, I saw that, but I still can't take him seriously as a killer. Daniel Craig's got all the characteristics of somebody you can imagine playing that role, I think. And it's almost a sort of a going back to the way that Sean Connery was. Sean Connery was a hard man. He was a killer.
I would say...
Oh, yeah, he would hit women, that's true. Yeah.
No, but he was a killer.
Roger Moore
in that role.
I would say Roger Moore was the gentleman spy then. I don't think that
It's of our generation, isn't it? It's of our generation, I suppose. We grew up with Roger Moore being James Bond, didn't we?
Oh, no, I've watched all the films. Roger Moore's films are better. They're more enjoyable films.
Yeah, you're right.
Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun, they're fucking amazing. The Spy Who Loved Me, the real classic stuff.
You're right in what you're saying about, having a go at me.
Having
a dig at me because I'm going on about, films being made over and over again. But you are getting the same narrative, I suppose, over and over again. But the point I'm trying to make is that they have changed in recent years because they've updated themselves. They've become, a film has got to go through that cycle in order to survive. It's updated to a modern day version, hasn't it? The spy, rather the bad guys are no longer, Spectre or the Russians, whoever it is.
Do you know what the new film's called? The new Bond film.
What?
It's called Spectre.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you're keeping score at home, that's 1-0 for me.
But also the character analysis.
Blofeld.
James Bond. The character analysis in the most recent movies, last 3-4 movies, with Daniel Craig in, has been a lot. He's no longer this flawless human being. He's a flawed human being.
Well,
and that's more interesting. As a viewer watching that movie, it's more interesting. The character analysis is a lot more in depth than it ever was. Roger Moore was a cartoon character.
The
James Bond, if you ask me.
against Daniel Craig's Bond, and I happen to like Daniel Craig's Bond. I think it's appropriate for the time, but I really like old. I say old because he is old. Like a friend of my father's, who happens to be very, very old, used to.
Is he old, Rob?
Well, is he old? No. I'm stating.
Old.
I'm stating the reason why I'm saying that he is old. He's like in his 90s, in his very late 90s.
That is old.
So it's been 70 years since, or whatever it was, since he was a spy. It's been a long time, so he can admit to being, what he did. And his complaint about Daniel Craig is that Daniel Craig's Bond isn't a spy. He's a killer. He's an assassin, and that, from his point of view, does not make a good spy movie because spying is about espionage and the.
Did this old man say that before getting into his underwater car and driving off? It's just too unrealistic. See you later.
Which I probably agree with. But then, if you were a real spy, the vast majority of the work they did was espionage. It was passing bits of paper to one another, and you can't really make a movie about that, can you? It's got to have some.
It's called Lincoln, and it's just 2 hours of Daniel Day-Lewis receiving bits of paper and going, we've won the big battle that we didn't show. And it's like, shit.
I think I need another long camera shot of me stroking my beard. We didn't even get to see him get shot, did we? What a disappointment was that?
Oh, yeah. We went to see Lincoln.
He came back. I think he came back. We heard that he'd been shot, and then he came back and he was in bed for a bit.
I was only watching towards the end of that, because it went on for so long, the film Lincoln, about Abraham Lincoln, not the city of Lincoln. If only you could see, listeners. Rob, we've set a buffet up.
I just think we need if we only had an image, can we stick an image up of him walking across? We need one step beyond playing over the top of
we had a baby shower yesterday for my upcoming child, and we've left the buffet out for Rob, who's on a diet, and Raoul, and just as we're talking now, he is shimmying from left to right across. What are you doing?
Walking.
You look like you've shit yourself.
I've done worse than that.
I don't know.
Look, if I didn't walk like this, I really would shit myself.
The amazing Inside Out boy.
At the end of the day, Rob, what goes in is going to come out, so you need to stay away from that buffet.
What goes up must come down.
Where was I anyway?
You were
talking about how you hate franchises, and then you were saying about all the franchises you like. So,
look, what I was trying to say is that I like a bit of variety. I can't pass a comment on Marvel movies because I ain't watched.
But you did. But you did originally.
But there's no evidence of that. So,
apart from the fact you've just said there's no evidence, which always makes someone guilty.
Look,
no one ever says there's no evidence when they've not done something.
I can quite happily, admit to being clumsy with what I was trying to say, but I think I said it better the second time round. I haven't watched many of the movies. I can't.
You didn't say it the second time.
I do have a bit of a problem with watching.
Go see Avengers. Such a good film. Such a good film. Anyway, what I was going to say is, so finishing off Spider-Man, because Paul dragged that out, is that they're going to reintroduce Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe supposedly in Captain America, the new Civil War movie. Although, if they choose not to do that, it could be in one of the little kind of stinger things at the end of the films.
What's the lead time on this? I mean, when are they expecting to launch a film with?
They should be filming Civil War, the Captain America film, starts very soon.
And in Civil War, is this Captain America Steve
Rogers.
Steve Rogers, or is it a different Captain America?
Steve Rogers.
And is it actually set in the American Civil War?
No.
And is Lincoln in it?
No, shall I tell you what it is?
It's a shame, that, isn't it?
In the comic book, it's to do with the fact that they decide that they want all superheroes to come out and admit who they are, because they believe that these hidden characters with all this power are a danger to governments and all stuff like that.
Similar story to X.
So, you end up with two different sides. You have Captain America, who is all for... I'm pretty sure Captain America wants people to take them, admit who they are. And then you've got Iron Man, who is against it. I'm pretty sure it's that way. And in the actual story, Spider-Man's I'm telling a lie. Sorry. Iron Man is for registration of superheroes. That's it. Captain America is against it. Because if you think about America and the way that they are civil liberties and freedoms and all that, he is against it, Captain America. So basically, Iron Man and Captain America face off against each other over this ideology that superheroes should reveal who they are. Because Iron Man admits who he is, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's all for it. Steve Rogers is not for it. Spider-Man comes out and admits who he is, and I think he switches sides. He's a pivotal character to the storyline. So it could well be that it appears in that film. Although the fact that they've not officially introduced him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it could be odd if he just stepped out. So...
Well, would it be odd if he just stepped out? Because people obviously are aware of him and of his place.
Well, I think everyone knows who Spider-Man is, so I don't think they'll do an origin story. It'd be very unwise to do that.
Good job the German's not here.
Yeah.
Why?
He hates origin stories. Origin stories, zombies, and what's the other one?
Jews. Oh, no, sorry.
He's not an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
He's actually against zombies, is he? So
Yeah.
he doesn't like anything
Well,
like
his argument
Walking
is...
Dead or anything like
Listen,
that?
do you not listen to the show? No, you don't.
Yeah. I didn't listen to it last week, though.
It is thermodynamics. Apparently zombies break the law of physics.
Oh.
So, he's got a PhD in physics, hasn't he? So in
Yeah, he has.
his argument is...
He's got a point, though, and the point is this.
It could never happen, so therefore...
No, it's not about that. It's fantasy. Good fantasy still has to have rules.
Right.
You can't... If there's a rule such as I can travel through time, there must be rules to do that, and if I can't break them, otherwise anything can happen. And I'll give you a good example of why it's important. I used to play a game called Dungeons and Dragons, which is a very popular game, and we would all play it, and we had the dungeon master guy who wasn't a little bald guy with a beard who used to appear and then disappear, with my friend Alan, and he would set the scene for you, and then you would say, you're in a forest, what do you want to do? We'll head this way. And it was always good fun. I brought my friend Chris along, and Chris isn't the brightest spark. In fact, he used to live with you, didn't he, Raoul?
He still owes me rent, actually.
And he left a stain on the wall, which we'll talk about in another episode. But he came to play with us, and Chris couldn't get his head around it. So there's a bit where Alan would say, some vampires leap out and they begin chasing you into the maze. So we're going to go left or right, and I'd go, can I try casting this spell? And Alan would go, you haven't got time to do the chant for it. What are you going to do? They're approaching you, and then you would he would have the storyline planned out, and you would kind of ad-lib within that, but there were rules to it. Chris could not understand that, so he said, can I make a trapdoor up here and go through that? I'm like, what trapdoor? Is there a trapdoor? And I go, there's no trapdoor. He goes, can I climb up the tree? Like, there ain't a tree there. It's just like big hedges.
So you say, this is fantasy, so I can make anything I want.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he insisted on doing that, and it ruined it.
Yeah.
There has to be rules. Bad science fiction and bad fantasy is where the rules don't apply. That's why I like stuff like Firefly, where there wasn't any sound in space, because there shouldn't be. And they had to have different engines when they went into space and when they went into the actual orbit of a planet, because the engines you would use in space would be very different from the ones you would use in the orbit, basically.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, so some sort of... it would have some basis in fact then, right?
Which is why a lot of people criticise time travel films, because logically time travel films are so hard to argue the eventual story implications of them, such as you go back and change something, it's changed.
Yeah.
Why would you ever go back and change it? You always end up with a paradox.
Yeah.
So there's always a problem with them, unless you say you will then be trapped in this bubble where you know what went on, but no one else did. The original timeline continues with you or whatever, but you're aware of. So
well, I thought like in the X-Men, the last one with a bit of time travel.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, where Wolverine wakes up, and it's all a bit confusing for him. I thought that was quite a good way of explaining that. I thought that worked quite well.
Yeah, although he would have still had all the memories of stuff he wouldn't have not known. Because him just being there, he is the Wolverine who has all those memories.
Well, yes, but he didn't have those memories until he woke up. So
but I mean...
So that kind of explained like the point at which he went back in time.
You're saying as he wandered around the mansion, he was kind of remembering stuff?
Well, no. So he wakes up, right? He goes to bed and he wakes up, and all of a sudden he remembers things. So it was as if at that point in time, that was the point in the other timeline when he went back in time. And so when he wakes up, it's continuing. So that's the point at which both timelines.
But remember when he walked in and he saw Jean Grey and he was like, Jean. It was as if he didn't realise she was still alive.
That's right.
So surely if it was just him getting these old memories... Again, that's the problem with any time travel thing.
So he's got a problem with things like... But why is he have a problem with zombies then? Because it's impossible for them to exist?
Well, it's just the fact that they break the law of thermodynamics. So
what's powering them?
Exactly. There's no energy going in there, yet they just keep going. And so he said, logically, you just round them up, stick them in a great big hamster wheel and just let them keep running.
Yeah, you got... Yeah. He doesn't hate all zombies. He doesn't mind a virus that, like the rage virus in 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind.
But he wouldn't like on principle. He wouldn't like The Walking Dead, for example.
If you think about,
he absolutely hates The Walking Dead.
They were actually proven as being they were dead, weren't they? There was a little bit of magnetic energy in their brains, right? Or electrical pulse in their brains because.
But it comes from nowhere again, so it's almost like they die and then it comes back. I think his argument would be. I think scientifically, if you were to leave a body out in woods, it would take about 11 days for it to render down to bone. It doesn't take long at all.
Really, 11 days?
About 11 days.
The grave digger, when I was a kid, told me it took a bit longer than that, but it did depend on the soil.
If you're in a grave, in a coffin, you're protected, aren't you? So
by dogs and stuff like that.
The only thing that can get is
a human body will break down very quickly, and a bigger person will break down even quicker because there's more heat as they begin to break down and stuff. So it only takes. And again, if someone wants to contact in, I'm sure I've read that. Just left out, it would take about 11 days because it would begin to putrefy and rot. And because of the size of it, it does it quite quickly.
Who was it at university? Was it you? I can't remember. Somebody at university had an old lady die next door and see through the wall.
That was when I was doing my teacher training. There was a stain on the wall we used to make Jodie, we lived with, who was a man with a woman's name. We used to make him lick this stain. So we didn't know what it was, and then we found out after we'd gone that... the old woman, we'd never seen her, had died, and she'd dropped against the wall and her fluids had passed through the wall. It didn't matter how you painted, always the old lady juice came through.
But why the hell did Jodie lick the bloody stain?
He's an idiot, wasn't he? From St.
Well, no, he's an idiot, but there's idiots and there's idiots.
He didn't know it was an old woman at the time. So where was it? Anyway, what I was going to say is Spider-Man will most likely be Peter Parker, not Miles Morales, and they're going to go for the teenage, high school Spider-Man. He's not going to be the post kind of school Spider-Man that you saw in pretty much all the films. Which leads me on now to next film news: Highlander reboot. Were you a big fan of Highlander? It had lots of. It was a franchise.
Yes, I was. Yes, it was a franchise, and that just goes to prove prove my point very slightly is that Highlander 2 was rubbish.
Oh, that proves your point that all franchises are null and void. Clearly,
no, that's my concern. I guess that's what I'm saying is that. I'm always a bit dubious as to whether or not, second and third remakes of movies are gonna fail. And there's a lot of history out there where they have done.
You do know that when we talk about the Marvel films, it's a different hero in each film.
Yes.
But so why? I don't understand why you've got this hatred of them when they are good films. Avengers is a very good film. Rob, you saw Avengers, didn't you, Rob?
Maybe I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Is it not a kick-ass film?
Oh, I think all the Avengers have been kick-ass. There's yet to be an Avengers film which, in recent times, which I thought was...
Until Ant-Man comes out, ruins it.
Until Ant-Man comes out, yeah.
All right, I'll make a deal with you. I'm gonna.
Bloody well.
I'll watch them, right? I'll watch them, and then I'll come back and I'll make an informed opinion on the Marvel
Something
comics,
that's
right?
that's the viewers tied in, or the listeners tied in now. They're coming back.
Official. I just want to say I will do that. I will watch them, and then I'll have an informed opinion about it.
So anyway, the Highlander reboot, originally Ryan Reynolds was going to be down to play the main character, but thank Christ he's not doing it anymore because he tends to ruin stuff he's in. Christopher Lambert probably won't be appearing in it. He himself has said he thinks him appearing in it, unless it's a quick cameo, he walks in, winks and walks off, he thinks it would take away.
Yeah.
He thinks it needs to be different from his film.
Yeah.
He says it needs to be a different person.
Well, it does need to be different in order for it to survive. It's like we're talking about, the cycle of a movie again. It's got to be. It's got to change. It's got to be updated in some modern way for it to be successful.
I think they tend to do that in most reboots.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be crap.
Yeah, he said. Well, he thinks he doesn't want it to be. I think with Conor McLeod as the main character in it.
Yeah.
And they have announced, however, Dave Bautista, the wrestler Batista from WWE, who's been in loads of films just recently, Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, is going to play the Kurgan, a role made famous by Clancy Brown in the original film, who was pretty cool. Which then brings me on to The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And we're all going to watch the trailer now, and we'll check to see if I've managed to actually record this and not had it cut out halfway through a flame again. So we just watched the trailer for Man from U.N.C.L.E., which you can look at on the internet, and we're going to go straight to old Mogface himself. What do you think about that one then? Meow.
Perfect.
Whiskers.
I think. I'd be interested to know is because Guy Ritchie is directing it. I'm wondering whether or not it's going to have, the choice of director. If they've done that because they're looking to get that clever interplay and that clever dialogue that we saw in other movies that he's done. I'll be interested to see whether or not it has that sort of cool, that cool cleverness that Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch and movies like that had in it.
Sherlock Holmes.
A little bit of that in there.
Have you seen Sherlock Holmes? I thought they were really well done. I really enjoyed.
No, I haven't. But I'd like to go and watch it on that basis.
Go and like it because Sherlock Holmes is a bit of a franchise and all those books. And
Right on, brother. Lean over and pat my hand. What? Careful.
Don't hit him too hard. If he rolls back on that ring, he'll hit the ceiling. Yeah, I like the look of it. What did you think to it, Andy?
Yeah, it looked compelling and rich.
Deep, love it. What about you then?
I actually like the fact they still kept it in the 60s. They still kind of kept it to that whole KGB Russia.
Kind of post-war.
You know why though? You know why? Because retro sells in movies like that, don't you?
But I think it actually works. I don't think you could set The Man from U.N.C.L.E. in a modern scenario. It wouldn't really have the same kind of coolness about it.
No, I like the idea. I think the look of it. I think it's going to be clever. I really enjoyed in Sherlock Holmes the way that Watson and Holmes kind of got on, but they were quite different as well. I think you're going to get that with Ilya Kuryakin and also Napoleon Solo. So I asked this when we recorded this before I messed it up again. The actors who played the original in the TV series, Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin. Put that phone down, Paul. So who played? Can you remember what their names were?
David McCallum.
David McCallum, you say? David McCallum played Ilya Kuryakin, and who played Napoleon Solo?
David. Forgotten.
Oh, look at him on his phone, on his new phone.
Not me.
Robert Vaughn played him as well.
And coincidentally, we didn't ask this question, but Alexander Waverley, the main dude in it,
He's dead though. Yeah, but the other two are still alive. Yeah, he died.
Yeah, Leo G. Carroll as well, another famous actor, British actor.
Yes,
get that in there?
it's a good searching on your phone there. Do you know what Uncle stands for? Because originally, when they wrote the series, they didn't put your phone down. This is a question to you. Not you can bloody well. You're as bad as him.
All right.
Originally, they didn't want Uncle to stand for anything.
Universal. I don't know. I have no idea. Universal National Constables licking elephants.
Spot on. Well done. What a guess. It's United Network Command for Law and Enforcement. That's what it stands for. Have any of you watched the original TV series?
Not for years.
Yes, I loved it when I was a kid. Watched most of them. I forget what day it was on, but there was a big watching it. No, but I mean, it used to be like Friday night or something. It was Friday afternoon, I think it was on.
They did a repeat on BBC Two.
I'm talking, I mean, I'm 38, so I'm 4 years older than you guys, but I think
so therefore I know more about the world than everyone.
How old are you?
I'm glad that you recognise that. I'm talking about, I've been about
31,
15, 14, 15, I think you used to be on.
Are you on about the TV? Because I used to think I watched the TV too, but I didn't. What I was watching was I watched the movies they made. Helicopter Spies, Karate Killers.
No, they made movies, but each of the episodes was on for about an hour as well, I think.
Well, what they did was the movies were episodes. They it was so successful, the TV series was, that the company decided they would take a couple of the actual episodes, put them together, add in a few more kind of adult scenes to get it more into the James Bond style area. And then they put them together as films. So I remember the Karate Killers and the Helicopter Spies were always on. And that would be, I think the Helicopter Spies was the last 2 episodes of season 2 or whatever of the show. But I always liked the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh,
Something cool. Napoleon Solo was a cool guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it had that sort of whole 60s cool about it, but it was clever and it was comical at the same time as having serious elements to it, wasn't it? Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. And it had a lot of kind of twists and turns, as I remember. I mean, I can't think of any particular episode, but I used to love just a lot of twists and turns in it. It was cleverly put together.
There was they did a spin-off called The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., which in the TV she was in the TV series, but then they did her own series, and I think Stephanie Powers played her, and it ran for a short amount of time. Yeah, I used to love a bit of the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I did as well. There's only one episode that stands out actually that was in. I think it was
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
In the one that I remember, they dug this big tunnel and escaped and went all over Europe. And then I think he got caught on a train, and then he got shot escaping. I think by that was the Great Escape.
It was.
So I'm getting confused.
And he jumped over a fence on a motorbike.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the one.
David McCallum's been in loads of stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was in a
Sapphire
really good series.
And Steel, which was good.
He was in a really good series
NCIS.
in the early 70s.
Was it The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Colditz. Colditz. He was in Colditz, which went on for 2 seasons as well, but it was really good in that. Really, very, very...
When did a season become when did a series become a season?
Well, there were about 15 episodes in each of the seasons of Colditz.
But we used to call it a series.
An American thing, that's why.
Yeah, the Americans...
But the reason we have slightly different names is because it's something like 22 episodes in a season. In Britain, very rarely will you get a show that does that many. So that normally you get 6 or something like that. 6 or maybe 12.
8 to 12 now.
Yeah, well, think about what there's like Game of Thrones. It was only like, was it 6 episodes the first season of that?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of British shows that they only, just because they're so scared of doing something and committing to it and it being crap.
Yeah, that's right, because you invest all that money in it and it bombs. You're out of pocket, aren't you?
Yeah, but in America they're going for it in a big way. Yeah, I used to love a bit of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was good.
Yeah, I did. There was some good series like that, wasn't there? You got, I suppose it was
The Avengers.
Yeah, The Avengers. You got.
Incidentally, they did a film which was set 15 years after The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Robert Vaughn in, where he'd left U.N.C.L.E. and David McCallum had left to become like a photographer or something. And obviously the guy who played their kind of main contact had died, Waverley bloke. So they got Patrick Macnee, who played Steed in The Avengers, to be their kind of contact with U.N.C.L.E. So yeah, I used to like The Avengers and the new Avengers with Purdy and Gambit and Diana Rigg, who's now in Game of Thrones. Do you ever watch any of the Avengers?
What the?
I'm not on about Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
They're the reasons why in Britain Avengers was Avengers Assemble.
Oh really? Because
there already had been a film with Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman called The Avengers, and Sean Connery, everyone's favourite Scottish wife beater, as something like, his name was something like, was it Baron August de Winter or something in it? Something like that.
I can't actually remember it.
Well, I suppose it wasn't very good.
Edgy. They were all really edgy series, weren't they? These. I mean, there was probably a lot of rubbish in the 60s as well, but they were very edgy and they were cool. I mean, The Prisoner, another example, really edgy of its time, a bit
Port
psychedelic,
Talbot, wasn't it? Or
Danger Man.
Yeah, Danger Man as well. Yeah.
Because they do say that Danger Man, or Secret Agent as it was called in America, that's who the prisoner was. Because obviously Patrick McGowan played him. John Drake, I think his name was.
Yeah.
And they had some of the actors who were in Danger Man were also in some episodes of The Prisoner. People who played spies.
Wasn't Roger Moore? Am I getting confused? Wasn't Roger Moore
the Saint?
He was going to be. He wasn't a saint, wasn't he? He was going to be in something else as well, but I can't think what it was. They asked him if was it The Prisoner? Was he going to be in The Prisoner?
All I remember The Prisoner being was just this bloke running around from big bloody
Rovers.
white inflatable balls.
Well, The Prisoner is amazing.
It was made at the height of the Cold War, wasn't it? And the whole thing was, who's the enemy and is the enemy within, and
Which the fact he never ever seemed to ever escape or get anywhere. There was never.
Well, he wasn't. He was a prisoner.
I know that. But it was just like
escape.
it was just so bleak. There was no. That was it. It was just like.
It was one man fighting against the system.
Yeah, playing
but it was just futile.
Well, no, it didn't, because he
escaped. He did escape in one of the episodes.
Well, at the end of it, he did in Fallout and the Chimes of Big Ben or something. Was
he got a map from somebody? I don't know where he got the map from.
But he, did he escape? Because at the end of it, some people said that his door to his house went zzz and shut, just like some of the doors did back in the village. But yeah, because in the last episode, I love the last few episodes. It's the bit where is that trial, and he starts singing "Dem bones, gonna walk around, dem bones, dem," and there's that jury there. And the judge is going, order, order! And then suddenly the whole of the jury starts joining in with that Agent 47 or whatever his name is.
I got the box set, and it came with a book. And in the book, it was interesting because a lot of the episodes that they were, as they were making the episodes, they were ad hocing. They didn't actually had a very, very loose script. They weren't sure.
He only wanted to do something like 6 or 7, wasn't it? And then they pushed him to do more.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy about it.
So he really was a prisoner then.
It was Lou Grade. What is it, Lou Grade he worked with? Who was the guy who was pushing him?
There were lots of directors that were on. I know there were lots of directors.
Lou Grade was the guy who owned. It was Granada and stuff like that, wasn't it? He was the big kind of money man in.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was. I know there's a lot of chaos behind. Reading the book, there's a lot of chaos behind. Patrick McGowan working with other people. He fired directors. He was a very, very angry, chaotic character. No one liked him. Complete arse to
very difficult to work with. Had his own vision.
To work with, yeah. I bet he nearly fell on its backside a few times as it was being made. He was working himself into the ground. I think he was having a mental breakdown because he was pushing himself so hard. This is what the book says as well. He was drinking heavily. He was under pressure to get it done, it nearly fell on its backside a few times. I find it interesting is that they were deciding what they were doing in the last few episodes, the ones you're talking about, and the final one, where he has that battle with the, was it number 2, isn't it? He's fighting with number 2.
That's what Rob's been having as well. I was going to do.
Not quite. I got that
drag you in
too later. Yeah.
Where he pulls the mask off, and this is a spoiler. It was on in the fucking 60s. Get over it, and it's his own face. Yeah, and that's what we are our own jailers.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that was clever because it was, who is number 2? You are number 6. It's like they told him in the opening credits for it. Now, who is it? Who's number 1? You are number 6. It's like, you all along. I love all that stuff. And we're going to talk about TV now. We were just watching, before we started the show, a new TV show on BBC 3. It's been shown on Sunday nights. The first episode went out. Called I Survived. We'll get your opinion in a minute, Raoul. I Survived a Zombie Apocalypse. Now, this is interesting because it's clearly influenced by Charlie Brooker's 2008 Dead Set, which was actually filmed on the set of... he made it with Endemol on the set of Big Brother. The idea that a zombie outbreak and Davina McCall was in it, and it actually showed what happened when on one of the final nights of Big Brother, if there had been a zombie outbreak, there's people trapped in the Big Brother house. So it's clearly influenced by this. It's a reality zombie game show where these people are put into this shopping precinct, which has been obviously cordoned off. They're actually dressed up as zombies, and they're given challenges. If they can survive a week, they're then evac to this tropical island, which is they're going to get a holiday, whoever wins it. If you are touched, not in an inappropriate way by a zombie, you're out, basically. So no one's been killed in the show so far. Rob, Raoul, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's just shit. It's just shit, full stop.
But do you like it?
It's basically they've taken a shit programme like Big Brother, full of dickhead people that you really can't be bothered about. And to be quite honest, the only drawback, or the one thing I'm disappointed in, is that the zombies aren't real and they don't get to rip their heads off.
Yeah.
Do you not think there's a lot of talent there, the people who make these reality TV shows?
What talent in the what?
In the people who make them? Do you think the production staff are really talented? Or do you think
is this because his lordship's sister works on Big Brother?
I'm trying to get you to insult his family, so he'll be like, "I'll kill you."
No, my sister's not worked on this particular series.
No, because she has worked on reality TV, hasn't she?
Quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and she's a knob. Reality TV is just...
Fucking hell!
My sister a knob?
Honestly.
Do you know how to trick you into saying it? Not openly just say it.
It's basically encouraging...
Pays the bills wrong.
It's encouraging brain rot. I was on a plane, right, about 6 or 7 months ago. I was going to Amsterdam for a stag weekend. And Lauren...
Let's bear in mind, before Paul answers, that you just insulted his sister.
Well, I know
Continue.
that. But Lauren, what's her name, was from The Only Way of Essex, was on the plane. And,
Lauren Goodyear.
Yeah, apparently that's her name. Yeah, she's on the plane.
It is a name, yes.
And there's some people sat behind her who were giving her loads of abuse for being on The Only Way is Essex. And then she opened her mouth and started shrieking at these lads. And then one of her friends that she was with just got up and actually gobbed in the faces of these lads. And they were all like spitting at each other. To be fair, Lauren What's-Her-Face wasn't spitting. She just sat down.
She paid someone to do it for her.
Well, they were all just like gobbing on each other.
You saw this happen?
Yeah. They were all gobbing on each other on an EasyJet flight to Amsterdam.
Brilliant.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, you get paid, you and your kind, you're given airtime, and you don't even deserve to breathe.
Please tell me that you recorded this, because that would be the best reality TV program ever.
Well, no, you're not allowed
people
to
gobbing one another on cheap flights.
You're not allowed to turn your phone on planes.
I think
there was enough naughtiness going on that you could have got away with it.
I think there's a series in that.
Well, anyway, I mean, the lads,
flights.
when we arrived in Amsterdam, the police did, come and have words with those boys that were, being rude to
It's really funny, if someone had gobbed at me and then it got into a thing where we're all gobbing at each other, I would have hit someone at that point, because I think if you're openly spitting at each other...
It's obscene, isn't it?
Then that's a fight situation, surely.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
But it just sums up the type of plonker that you have on reality TV. And anything, I don't know, it's just all...
And thereby you're justified in insulting one of Paul's family. It makes perfect sense.
Because she makes the stuff.
In fact, Rob, I'm on your side.
Yeah,
Bring her up now, tell her, say, sis, you're a knobhead. Lauren Goodyear's friend spat on some dickheads on a plane.
Can I just say that my sister's never worked with Lauren Goodyear ever. So she's not associated with her.
But everyone said that Lauren Goodyear was really fat as well. She didn't look that fat to me.
I'll tell you honestly, I've always supported my sister in these TV programmes that she's worked on. I think some of them actually, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, are actually pretty good in their own right. As a reality TV programme. I'd agree with you that the one that we watched. Well, I just getting back without sort of throwing insults. I'm not going to do it because I think I'm more dignified than that. Watching a TV programme.
Can I just say that if you do want to lower yourself to Rob's level, I'm recording and I'm well up for it. Play on.
We'll see. Well, I'll start off by saying I actually think I agree with most of what Rob said about that TV programme. I didn't get a lot of the elements. I don't like the fact. I get the fact that if you stick a load of morons in a tight.
Jumper.
In a small
celebs
space,
in a jumper,
and put cameras on them, that they're probably going to end up, saying silly things to one another or falling out with one another. I didn't get the fact that it was a zombie apocalypse, because what's the point? There's
Greg
no point
James
to
was the presenter. Why?
Well, I agree with Robin as much as if you're going to have zombies on there, you want to kill them.
Oh my word!
Yeah,
you should.
When we were watching it,
Raoul
was saying, "Can you build an explosive and blow them up?" Well, no, because that's murder. It's a TV show.
Well, I know that, but
there's no danger element.
Exactly,
there's no danger. They know that.
You know when you watch The Walking Dead or zombie films, that ain't real.
I know it's not, but
they're not really killing people.
They're based in it, so you.
No, not really though. They're actors.
It's a different premise, isn't it? It's not reality TV.
You don't actually have to kill them for real though. You could find the bits to make an incendiary device and throw it at them, and it could just pretend to go bang, and then that's a few less zombies.
But they're incinerated.
But they're not actually dead. They're just actors. They walk off going, "Oh, I'm dead." It's like paintballing.
They're already dead.
Yeah, covered in paintball stuff. It's like paintballing.
But the cleverest.
But let's have goggles on then. It would be stupid.
The cleverest example, right, of I'd say reality TV program that I've seen recently, where there were zombies involved in it, and it was really bloody clever, was Darren Brown convincing some guy that he was actually in a zombie apocalypse.
Darren Brown.
So Darren Brown.
Darren Brown would be the council estate version.
Darren,
He hypnotised you while he nicked some cigarettes off you.
But I thought that
You
was
didn't
really
see me
clever.
right.
That was really clever because he really did believe that something horrible had happened to the world, and it was that he was in the middle of this catastrophe.
Did he really, though, or was it
I
all
think he
just
did, yeah.
trickery and acting?
I think he did. I think he'd been convinced into believing it.
I'm not sure I believe in hypnotism.
But that was clever. That was interesting.
And it's a load of bullshit.
This was just attaching various different elements together, throwing them together badly in a cauldron, lack of a better word, and then projectile vomiting out onto the screen.
I'd love it if you got a
It was
phone
rubbish.
call now and it was like, I'm just going to take this. Hi sis, no, new show.
Right, I
BBC
loved
Two.
it.
Zombies in a shopping centre. That sounds amazing. Love you.
We
Ta-ta.
watched it. We watched it. Admittedly, we were on our phones mucking around just talking. But the
I
vast
wasn't.
majority of what we watched were just a bunch of people in a room, and it was your stereotypical.
That's what you
different
do in a zombie
right on
apocalypse.
cool dude. No, it was stereotypical kind of right on
Shoreditch
20-something.
hipsters.
Yeah, man, great,
Yeah.
with bandanas on for crying out, talking about just bilge.
Have you
It
ever
was
watched a
massive
zombie
at the bottom
film?
of the sea.
Everyone wears bandanas. The Axl Rose look is really in for the apocalypse.
Is that right?
You watch
They weren't
any
even
film.
fighting them. They weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there around a bloody coffee table drinking bloody
Horlicks.
cappuccinos.
They weren't drinking cappuccinos. First of all, they were in a shopping centre which had been abandoned, which is a great. Obviously, if you're a zombie film fan, always go to the shopping centre with them. And if there was a real zombie apocalypse, I think I would lock myself in somewhere.
The thing that they never really explain is, if you've got a shopping centre,
Yes.
why aren't there really zombies inside the shopping centre? Logic would dictate the shopping centre be full of zombies, because that's where people gravitate to.
Depends when the zombie outbreak begins.
What, you think?
If it begins at night when it's all locked up.
What,
then no.
but we've got 24-hour shops now.
This one isn't.
The only
Monroe Shopping
thing
Centre.
that would make that TV program interesting was if they
It's shot on a Sunday night,
was if
and it's on a Sunday night. Boom! There's your answer.
Logic.
if they inadvertently they did their psychiatric evaluation of somebody on there and they got it wrong and somebody went in there, went completely nuts and started killing the actors, and that would make it more interesting, I think, because I'd like to see how because they go from acting, and they're pretty convincing as zombies, I would say, pretty good acting. What happens if they've really got a complete maniac running at them with a shovel in his hand or a spade, trying to kill them, and one of them does actually get attacked?
Think about it.
Don't kill me!
This is it.
Make it more interesting.
All you'd have to do to win the thing is seriously go psycho with a shovel or something.
Yeah.
Take a few.
You
swings
wouldn't
at them.
win the show if you killed someone.
No,
you go
this is the
to
point.
jail.
This is the point. You're not going to kill them. They'll run away from you because they're still actors. Ergo,
They're
you
not going to
win.
keep the show going while you're running around with a
I'll
fecking
tell you
shovel.
what, it would go out with a bang if they managed to capture.
If
that
you're
on-
there,
on TV.
threatening them, and they think they're going to get a kick in, they're not going to go all like method.
This is what the
acting and
director says. He
Shakespeare.
goes, "Shh, that fucking idiot Rob has picked up a shovel now.
Raoul.
He's threatening the zombies. We need to get the police down there and the doctor because apparently his arse really stings."
But the thing is, the zombies would run away, wouldn't they? They run away from you, but they're not
They'll
allowed
kick you
to.
off the show.
They'll get fired then for running away from you.
It's the premise of the game. It's like saying in a football match, you could easily win it, bring a few knives out. You run forward, threaten the other team with knives, and
Well,
they'll
it
run
would
off
have
the
pumped.
pitch.
It would have pumped some greatly needed
Who would you be
energy
pumping?
into the TV program. To be perfectly honest with you, because it was
just
like
looks-
it was like I tell you what it reminded me of: the matter that's left in the bottom of the sink once you've done the washing up.
Can
That's
you
what it reminded me
ever
of.
have a conversation without you mentioning matter in some form? I've noticed that. I'm sure if I went back to the last show you were on, matter was mentioned.
Was it?
I'm going to put money on it that at some
Well,
point you said matter.
It's talking about matter, and our physicist isn't here, so it kind of.
Yeah, I'll
It was
tell you
grey
what.
and drab and without any substance whatsoever, really. If you ask me.
I think it's an interesting premise. It's very brave of them. Of course, because it's reality TV, you have your tits on it, such as Aston, one of the characters who came on and basically was like, "I'm Aston, I'm a lad, woo, lad." Showed pictures of him drinking beer and smacking stuff on his forehead, which is
Brilliant.
typical lad stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a nice idea. I think personally, it could be done better. I think it would need for me to be just scarier.
Well, you need your polarised. Yeah, how do you make it more scary though? You need your polarised idiots in there to make a sort of a similar sort of premise
But they
to Big Brother.
They
don't
could
you?
do it with atmospheric music or effects or other things, stuff to really weird everyone. Well, no, not to like like a trombone or anything. I mean, you could have like sparks from it. You could actually put some real sense of danger. Not like, all these people are walking outside with bits falling off them. Let's have a Horlicks.
Yeah, but if there was
well, they need more purpose to it. Crystal Maze. There was purpose to that.
Exactly.
You knew that there were going to be games and lots of things going on.
Because that was realistic. Why don't you travel around lots of different areas, then you go and stand in a fucking big crystal ball thing?
But there was some impending doom there. There was a real sense of foreboding because
there was no impending doom.
We had Richard O'Brien. That's scary enough.
What's the purpose of the zombies? Answer me that. What was the purpose of the zombies in that program, other than to walk around?
It explains the purpose is, first of all, zombies are very popular at the moment, so that will draw in people to watch the show. Right. The second one explains why it's generic. It's a popular genre at the moment. That's why a subgenre.
I'd go with that.
That's the reason why they're trapped in there, and it sets up the games, such as they need to get some bedding materials. So supposedly they're in contact with, because it used to be an army kind of base where they pulled out of. There's still some of the equipment to transmit in there, which is almost like the kind of the camera room, whatever it's called, in the Big Brother house where they go to, where they're given missions, things they need to survive. So the premise is you've got nowhere to sleep. We know that we've stored some of this bedding material in this place. Unfortunately, it was used as a morgue. So in the first episode, they have to send some people and actually say to them, this particular game is for 2 people, and it's going to test your kind of agility and whatever. Yeah. So in that respect, it's very similar to the Crystal Maze in that they're in that central bit, and then they're given a mission to do, and it involves them going somewhere, and the zombies are just a threat in it. A bit like in the game Nightmare, you used to have some kind of creatures when you had
with the hat and the helmet, and the first foray into VR, wasn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure there's going to be one where there'll be supply drops, and you have to get the supply drop before the zombies get to it and stuff like that.
So what's the average speed of these zombies? I mean, do they get a bit of like a spurt on, or are they going to keep
they weren't spurting,
walking around like
I think they can shamble
not the
like a man
that was
with
really bad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to insult paraplegics.
Well, paraplegics don't shamble really, do they? So much on the lack of limb movement, but they shamble along much like someone with a badly wounded anus. Making his second journey to the buffet.
You did walk a little bit like a
zombie.
Yeah, a zombie.
I've got to drive home yet.
Right, I want to talk about the next TV show because we lingered on that one for far too long. Right, the next show I want to talk about is one that's being released this year. It's Westworld, which is it was a film. From a book by Michael Crichton. It's going to be a HBO TV series. You've got J.J. Abrams, who's making the current Star Wars films and was behind the last 2 Star Trek films, as executive producer, starring Anthony Hopkins, James Marsden, who played what's-his-face from Scott Summers, Cyclops in
good cast, though.
Rachel Evan Woods, Ed Harris.
Wow.
They're all going to be in it.
Good
and
cast.
Basically, the storyline is, I'm guessing it's the same as the 1973 film about this Delos, which is a futuristic theme park.
Yul Brynner was in it?
Yul Brynner, he played the man in the mysterious man in black or whatever. Yeah. Where they go to this futurist theme park that has different worlds. There's Westworld, which is Western. This Old World, which is like medieval Europe, and then there's Roman World. And you go in there and they have androids which act just like people. They look like them. You can interact and have sex with them or fight them and kill them.
The strapline says, a dark odyssey about the dawn of artificial consciousness and the future of sin.
Yes.
Bit deep, isn't it?
Well, I suppose... I mean,
it's a series, so they're going to be able to explore what is...
Series, yeah, that's interesting, because they could go into more detail, I suppose. I mean, the original movie is a classic piece of film. It's a classic bit of sci-fi from the 1970s. Brilliant movie. I've watched it a few times. There was an arts type film program on a few years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. It used to have all these sort of classic movies, didn't it? And that was one that was on. I remember watching it. It's just so clever and original.
Well, one of the principles, in the actual film, there's a bit in it when the robots start going funny.
Yeah. They've got a mending centre.
In the medieval world bit of it, there's this woman who this guy wants to have sex with her, and the android woman won't do it, and then this Black Knight character kills another guy, and then the gunslinger, Yul Brynner's character, shoots one of the guys, and he dies and goes after the other one. So I think the TV series will, if it has them trapped in the, for the whole of the the whole of the run of the TV series would be quite good. They did a sequel called Future World, which less people watched. Your Brynner had a little cameo type in it as well.
I guess the point about being able to make it into a mini-series is, like you say, you can investigate in a deeper way certain aspects of...
All of the androids, I'm sure, as some of them will become fully conscious, and rather than just behave like the character they're portraying, they'll probably start to think outside of the programming.
We've got potentially 10 hours of film that you can fit. You're gonna have to sort of investigate.
They're not little boys. They don't want to be. In fact, we mentioned Pinocchio last week as well, on it.
Did you mention matter last week?
No, because you weren't here. When you go, some kind of matter. The original Westworld was the first feature film to use a digitalised image process to make it look like what Android was seeing, which is then saw in films like Terminator. So if you want to see the first time that was ever used, and why wouldn't you, Andy? Then you can go and see that in Westworld.
Yeah, it's a pivotal movie.
And that sounds like it's going to be quite good. They actually did a TV series, incidentally,
right,
called Beyond Westworld, which was in 1980. They did about 5 episodes.
Well, I read somewhere they were trying to do a remake since the 90s, but it's just taken ages to get it off the ground for various...
Yeah, but it's a really original idea. Like Michael Crichton always comes up with different ideas. Like, so he did Westworld about a theme park that goes wrong. Then he wrote Jurassic Park, which is about completely different, about a unoriginal bastard. So I think that sounds really good. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about, and this links us in with you were talking about earlier on about wanting to see a sequel to the A-Team film.
Yes.
There's a new TV show called Powers, which is based on a comic book called Powers. And it's going to be released on March the 10th of this year on the PlayStation Network. It's going to be their first kind of TV show that they're doing. And it stars Sharlto Copley, who played Howling Mad Murdoch.
Yes.
And he was also in District 9 as well.
South African actor.
Freaking prawns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be in it. He plays the lead character, who's a homicide detective, Christian Walker. And let me tell you the premise of it. The premise is that it's a combination of superhero fantasy, cinema, crime noir, and police procedural. It's about a world where you have lots and lots of superpowered people, and these detective team, Christian Walker and Dina Pilgrim, they investigate cases involving superheroes and supervillains. And he's an ex-superhero, kind of lost his powers at some point.
So, and you say this on the PlayStation Network?
Yes.
So that's not going to be anywhere else. You have to have PlayStation to watch this.
I will imagine yes, but they'll put it on DVD, and who knows, will they be up for selling it to another...
Well, it's interesting because back in like the 80s and whatnot, Sony were the de facto audio, gods. Right? They made their money off selling your hardware. Now they've been completely overrun, overtaken, dwarfed, smashed into oblivion by Apple with all your OS devices for iPods and whatnot. The only thing that's really been keeping Sony afloat.
Carry on.
Sorry, I was just entranced by Andy's interesting face.
Well, the only thing that's been really keeping Sony afloat is its back catalogue of content, because it's got its fingers in so many pies content-wise, and even if Apple sell a bazillion iOS devices, whatever, they're still going to have to go back to Sony to get the content. So, by tying this production to their PlayStation network, would it encourage more people to buy PlayStations?
I don't know. Perhaps. I'm sure they'll sell it to.
They'll have to, because I
channels.
can't see anybody going out of their way just to buy a games console just for content. Particularly when I guess it'll require some kind of subscription, which will probably cost you quite a bit of money anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm on the PlayStation Network.
If it was something which they could release at large with other things on it, then it might be very successful.
Well, like if there was a PlayStation app, for example, for your Android, or they had some partnership with Netflix, or...
I'm sure there will be something like that in the works. Sony have had it pretty tough this year, haven't they, after all those leaks and all that? It's been a bit of a shitty year so far.
The and the
it's only February. Yeah. But it looks like it's going to be quite interesting, this, and the main villain in it is going to be played by a chap called Eddie Izzard.
Oh no!
Really?
Yeah.
The thing is, he is a good actor, but he's going to be. He is a good actor.
No, I've got a cough.
Oh right. But he always typically plays similar kind of character, and you know this villain.
Well, do you know what? I've seen him in. He was in Hannibal. He played a bad guy in the Hannibal TV series. He was quite good in it. I think he will be. He can be very menacing. He can play an intelligent, menacing guy.
I think he can as well.
Yeah. So it should be good.
He's got progressively more bigger parts, hasn't he? He was in a movie. I forget the name of it. It was all about the making of Nosferatu, wasn't it?
With Willem Dafoe in it.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Vampire.
That was it. And he was good in that, I thought.
But it wasn't so much the making of it, because Willem Dafoe actually was a vampire.
Well, it was a play on that, wasn't it? About Nosferatu actually being a real vampire,
Yeah, Max Schreck was a real vampire that actually
played. It played on the making of the movie, didn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that film. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was good as well.
So, this film's coming out based on a successful comic book series, which had loads, in the comic book series, they had loads and loads of cameos by actual comic book creators, and characters were based on them. So it'd be nice, I think, if when they do the show, the comic book's written by Brian Michael Bendis, if they brought in actual comic book mates of his to just have cameo appearances in it. So if you're a fan of the comic book, you will appreciate, I think, seeing those people in it.
I mean, it's got the potential to be as big as Waking Dead, or I'm just trying to think of any other comic.
There's shitload. Oh yeah,
that's gone, massive.
Yeah, so that's one of the new shows that I'm interested in seeing, and that brings it to that's about all I want to talk about. Goodbye.
Bye.
Cheerio.
It's alive! Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.